The hats are $25. Yeah. And yes, they're made in America by Americans. Yes, sir.
I just saw in Consumer Reports, some of you may see, that a picture of a mug just like this for sale, an American flag covering half of it. Who's seen that? It says, "Not made in China." Of course, you turn the thing over, it's made in China.
All right, without further ado, I'm going to hand over the microphone to our illustrious moderator, Mark Nowakowski. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought I would start out with a very brief overview of crowdfunding for those of you who are not familiar with it. And then we will move into our panelists here, who are all crowdfunding veterans and have graciously agreed to come here and share with you some of their real-life experiences, both before they raised the funds, but perhaps more importantly, what happened after they raised their funds, when the real hard work started. So let's start out with that initial overview of crowdfunding. You see up here a crowdfunding campaign for New Plug. This is, I want to make sure I pronounce it correctly, Mike Carpanzano? Close enough, okay. This is Mike's project. The basic idea with crowdfunding is you have an idea. For inventors, you make a prototype. You can see a picture of his prototype there. You put together a little video, 3 to 5 minutes, showing your idea and asking people for their support. And the way they support you, primarily, is they pre-order one of your things. Now, there are other ways to support. There are lower levels where essentially you'll get a thank you token, you know, maybe a hat or a mug. And then there are higher reward levels for those who want a special honor, like maybe dinner with the inventor or something like that. But the main idea is you pledge, if they reach their goal, then everybody's credit card gets charged, the project creator gets the money, and then they go off and do the project. That's the basic idea. The big sites, the two big ones, are Kickstarter and Indiegogo, but there's hundreds of sites, all related to different aspects of what you might want to do. It's not just for inventions, it's for creative projects, it's for really anything you can think of. All right, so since we started with Mike, Mike is a local business owner and inventor. His latest product, New Plug, is an innovative extension cord with clamping system designed for smart device charging convenience. Mike came up with this idea as an MBA student at WestCon, right? Won first place in the small business category at the CD Business Plan competition, and also won grand prize at the International Giants Entrepreneurship Challenge business competition in North Dakota. I've never been to North Dakota.
I hadn't either.
Well, I'd love to go sometime. And last May, he successfully raised, as you can see, $85,000 on Kickstarter. And I guess my question to Mike, we were getting together beforehand, and he was talking about some of the challenges of managing the crowd after you've got your funding and before you've delivered your product. So I wonder, Mike, if you could give folks a little background on the history after your funding and some of the challenges of managing the crowd.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Mark. So, is anyone still unclear on what exactly crowdfunding is? You can feel free to ask.
It is crowdfunding.
Okay, all right. It's quite simple. So the conventional model that you might be used to hearing about is venture capital, probably, right? That's a word that you've heard before, but you've never heard of where to actually go and get venture capital. Venture capital usually refers to one individual or a group, small group, basically one entity that gives you a large amount of money. So in this example, I'll just say one entity gives you $1 million with some sort of caveat. You have to grow that money for them. You have to produce something and provide some sort of a return over time. Crowdfunding is the inverse of that. You get funding from a crowd of people, many of whom you probably won't know. So in this case, on Kickstarter, Kickstarter is one type of crowdfunding web-based platform, okay? Kickstarter is not crowdfunding, okay? Kickstarter is just a website that is a platform for crowdfunding, okay? So individuals like me can set up a project on Kickstarter, submit it to their editors, and if it gets approved, then you can launch your project on Kickstarter. And folks that go on Kickstarter can look at your project, decide whether or not they want to contribute their own money for some sort of a promise later on. And then if you meet your funding goal, you get to actually take that money. Okay, so if you don't mind, maybe what we'll do, this video is not very long, so if you want, we can just play the video. This is what you would have seen if you went on Kickstarter last year. You need to have
Do
sound.
we have sound?
Not to my knowledge.
Oh,
Okay, well, start it over. I'll just say what I'm saying really quickly.
you're familiar with the script.
Oh yeah, I've done it 1,000 times. Okay, so I'm saying, hi, my name is Michael Carpenzano. This is my product, NewPlug. You can pass it around. So NewPlug is a very simple device. It's a surge-protected extension cord with a clamping mechanism. NewPlug is designed to solve a very simple problem, which is basically stems from the frequency at which people are now using smart devices, okay? How many people here have a smartphone, laptop, tablet, e-reader, or know somebody who has one? How much do you use it every day? Yeah, a lot. Okay. So there's like over 100 million smartphones in the United States alone. And I believe the statistics are 4 out of 5 smartphone owners spend at least an hour and a half every day doing something called multitasking, which means either sitting in front of the TV or sitting in front of a laptop, tablet, or another device while using their smartphone. Okay, so you're using more than one device every day. And the average that we're using our smartphones is upwards of 3 hours. You may not use it 3 hours, but you look at some younger demographics and are using them for way more than 3 hours a day. So basically what the device is designed to do is provide a convenient outlet location for charging. Okay, so your regular extension cord is, stuck under your bed with the dust bunnies, or you've got to fight with your furniture to get to an available wall outlet, or you've got to run to your countertop to check your phone every single time you get a text message. So this is really just designed for smart device charging convenience. It's quite simple. Okay, so as Mark explained, I put this project together while I was an MBA student at WestCon, which gave me the opportunity to enter into some business competitions. I was lucky enough to win several business competitions, which got me a decent amount of momentum. And at that point, it seemed like the right time for me to launch a crowdfunding endeavor. And the reason for that is because when you launch a crowdfunding endeavor, you need a lot of people, okay? If you look up here, this right here is the number of backers. Those are how many individuals put money forth for some sort of reward on my project, all right? Over 2,000 people. I don't even think I know 2,000 people. Okay, 90% of the people I've never met in my life. Some of them are across the world. I mean, India, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Canada, United States. Those are some of the countries of the backers. So What's very interesting about crowdfunding is you can get an enormous amount of momentum out of it. The other side of that is you have to put a lot into it, okay? You have to put a ton of effort into actually getting people to find out that your project exists. You cannot put a project onto a place like Kickstarter, onto any sort of web-based platform, and then just kick your feet up and expect people to be able to see it, okay? I am not a social media expert by any means. I have no use for it other than for business, and I was able to manage doing this. It was not easy. It took a ton of work. I didn't sleep for probably the month before, the month during, and the month after, but I was able to get it done. More importantly, what happened after was that's kind of when the real work actually began, because now I have this responsibility to fulfill the promise that I made to folks on Kickstarter, which meant, you know, I've got $85,000 or so to do it, but not only do I actually have to do that now, but I also have to keep up with 2,000 people that want to know what's going on with my project. And that's one thing that I didn't really account for. If you want to launch a crowdfunding project and you want to get money on this type of a scale, you almost really need to employ someone to keep up with your backers, because otherwise you'll end up pulling your hair out. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Is there a mechanism within Kickstarter to send out communications? I mean, they obviously know the addresses of all these people, so can you post some update and get it to everybody, or do you have to write an email to 2,000 people?
That's a very good question. So the question that was asked is, does Kickstarter have some sort of interface where you can communicate with backers, or do you have to make attempts to communicate with them individually? And the answer is yes. They do have what's called the backer report. They also have this interface where you can keep up with backers, you can post project updates, and choose whether or not they go to anyone that looks at your project or only to people who have backed your project. There's also a comments thread where people can post their general interest, likes, or dislikes with your project, how it's going, how it went, how it's gone. I've been doing a lot of talking, and I see a lot of faces that may or may not be a little confused. So I'm just going to stop for a second and see if anyone would like to ask general questions. Over in the back.
How long have you been at this project?
Sorry, say that again?
How long have you been at it?
Oh, okay. Good question. When you post a Kickstarter project, there is a finite amount of time. And this project ran from May 5th, 2012, sorry, no, 2013, last year, to May 5th to June 5th. So it was 32 days, somewhere around there. The longest that you can run a project for on Kickstarter is 60 days. You cannot run it for longer than that. If you look at Kickstarter does post some information about their project statistics, and normally projects that run for approximately 30 days or less tend to be more successful, and my best guess is that they incite a little bit more motivation by your backers, because for a lot of you, your backers are going to be friends and family, or at least it's going to start out that way, and when you tell your friends and family that you need their support, they're probably going to say, yes, I would be happy to do that. I love you, and I think that your idea is really neat, and I would definitely put my money where my mouth is. And when it comes to putting their money where their mouths are, a lot of times it's something that they decide that they will get around to. And if there are 60 days to get around to it, most of them will forget completely. If there are less than 60, more like 30 or less, usually it incites a little bit more motivation, but there are still, some of your family that may not ever get to it. Next question in the back, sorry. Yeah, no, you in the quiet.
How far along was your project when you started trying to raise money for
I had built 4 prototypes. I had a provisional patent that was filed. I had a utility patent that was filed 1 year after the provisional patent was filed. I had won 2 business competitions, so I had run through pitches. I had been judged by, 30 other judges who had reviewed my business plan. I had traveled and competed, won money. I had walked around and tried to just sell my future crowdfunding endeavor. So I really got almost like a lake full of momentum with a dam in front of it that was, this is when it's going to start. So once it started, that dam opened and there was a flood of people who were ready to support the project, which is a very necessary thing to do because that initial momentum drives a project very quickly. So yes, it was very far along, but it took a ton of work. Sorry, yes, sir.
You say you raised 85,000 and change. How much did you plan to raise when you put the project on Kickstarter?
The project goal was $75,000, and I would not have gotten any money, and if you had pledged to the project, your credit card would not have been charged until I had been successfully funded, if and only if I had been successfully funded. So on June 5th, when the project closed, if I had raised $74,590, no money would have exchanged hands and the project would have been metaphorically dead. Other sites do not have that all or nothing type of approach. Mark, I'm sorry, am I just doing too much Q&A right now, and did you want to do it differently?
Well, I think maybe one more question, and then maybe a final point, and we'll let the next.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
That's fine. That's good. It's great questions.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what's the percentage of success on Kickstarter?
I have absolutely no idea.
I actually have that number for inventions. It's about 30%.
That's plenty good.
If you were short, would you just get someone to add to it? Can you see the running amount close to your goal?
Yes, you can, and that's a good point. But what you're suggesting is something that I legally cannot do.
Not you, I mean, but you'd get someone to say, hey, I'm only short $200. You can't do that.
Well, I mean, you can be short only a couple $100, and the likelihood is that somebody out there would want to get you over the hump. But, I mean, most projects don't end up being short only a couple $100. They usually end up being short a couple thousand, or several thousand, or double-digit thousands. And those are usually the times when they don't end up being successful. Sorry, okay, last question.
Seems like you were very fortunate with all the front-end PR, won some awards and so on and so forth, but I would think that would be typically not the case. Someone had a project, but they don't have PR, they don't have that build up the dam like you did.
That's probably true. But once again, we're talking about crowdfunding, so if you want a chance at success, the likelihood, I think, is much higher if you try in some way to get some sort of PR about your product or service, whatever the case may be. So, maybe the possibility of, winning an award for it may not necessarily be available, but maybe some sort of PR about it, maybe whether it's a newspaper article or some sort of blog, anything of that nature. I mean, really what you have to do is get out there and advertise. You need to advertise the project in order to let people know that it's running on Kickstarter so that they actually go there.
What type of vehicle? Newspaper ads?
I did tons of different things. I had, for the month, I had employed 3 people who were managing social media, which was Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I don't know, whatever the other ones are. I had one person who was just sending information to popular tech blog sites and online news sources, and that was very successful. It got a whole bunch of good PR on those news sites, which drove a lot of traffic to Kickstarter. I walked around and handed out business cards that said supportnewplug.com. I bought the URL supportnewplug.com and then had it forwarded directly to the Kickstarter page, so I didn't have to tell people, go to kickstarter.com and type in newplug. It's spelled N-U-P-L-U-G. You know, made that easier. There was also a QR scanner code on there. You know, and I mean, a lot of this was kind of grassroots, asking people, looking at other projects, and just trying to think of what is out there that I can do. I also did get a newspaper article that did not get a single bit of traffic for me.
A last observation?
Okay, I could talk about this for hours, but what happens after the project is very important. What happened with my project is I very quickly got sought out by several licensees, and I partnered with one of them, and we spent a lot of time on contract negotiation, and then we spent a little bit of time on further commercialization efforts before manufacturing. And we didn't really talk a lot about how we were going to keep in touch with the backers and manage that relationship. So right now, if you look at my project and if you go on the comments thread, you'll see a whole host of positive and negative comments all across the gamut, because I had I had projected that I would be able to deliver product last October, and we have not delivered product yet. We're now scheduled to deliver in May, and the product has also been slightly redesigned since then. So those types of things, to some certain backers, to the culture of Kickstarter, can seem like somewhat of a betrayal, and those cultural purists on Kickstarter can have very, very loud voices. One thing that's very important about crowdfunding is your personal life becomes very public. This is my baby here. And the place to criticize this is in such close proximity to the project that if you screw up, or if you're doing something that others think isn't up to snuff, people have very easy access to finding out about it. And, you know, a lot of times you can be left to think whatever you want to, but if you see, you know, right now I think the total percentage of dissatisfied Kickstarter backers from my project is less than 1%. But if you were to look at the comments thread, you'd think that I was a bad person, like a real jerk that has betrayed them completely and sold out to a company for the promise of billions of dollars, which is not the case at all. It's trillions. Yeah, so anyway, we'll take more questions after, but
Yeah,
thank you.
we'll have lots of time for questions. Oh, I see. All right. If you jump in the water, then you'll be in good shape. Our next speaker is Cliff Thier, who was our speaker, one of our panelists last year, and despite that, he went back to Kickstarter again, and he has some interesting experiences to share about the joys of not reaching your funding goal, and then retooling your project so you do reach your funding goal. And I believe he also has his project right here with us. And just a final point, there was an attorney back there that says they tinker in the garage. Who was it? Right? Cliff is an attorney who tinkers in his garage.
I have to correct something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I did reach my funding goal. There's no need to retool.
Didn't you run it twice?
No, I pulled it after one day
You pulled it after one day.
when no one had actually to change some things. They don't allow you to edit. If you realize you want to change a date or change a reward tier, you have to kill the project
And then redo it.
and then redo it. So after one day, I killed it made the changes I thought I should have had originally, and then just put it back up again.
Super, all right, I stand corrected.
There are two models for how crowdfunding works. One is the model that Kickstarter uses. Kickstarter is an all-or-nothing structure. As you heard, if you fall a few dollars short of whatever the goal is, you get nothing. Which brings me to my, I'm going to jump off here. When you set your goal, keep that in mind. Be very conservative in the goal you set. If you think you can raise $20,000 and you're sure that you can raise $10,000, don't make your goal 20. Make it 10, bust through your goal. The other model is the model that Indiegogo uses, which is they take out, you set a goal, if you hit your goal, they will take out a smaller percentage and give you your money. If you fall short of your goal, they will take out a bigger percentage and give you your money. So these are two different models, and you can decide which one you think is more appropriate to you. I can't say, but I think certain kinds of projects are probably more appropriate to the audience that Indiegogo reaches, and other projects might be better in sync with the audience that Kickstarter uses. There are a lot of blogs about people's Kickstarter experiences. So you should also research there, see what other people have encountered, and how they've overcome whatever problems have come up. Keep in mind also that your backers want you to succeed. They're rooting for you. They like the idea of your project. They want to see it successful. They are an excellent source of feedback. You can contact them. They can contact you. You can put an update. You can get questions answered. They're your focus group. And they're a focus group that wants to cooperate. Yes?
Can only individuals invest, or can companies invest in it?
I'm sorry, I could not hear you.
Can only individuals, people, invest in Kickstarter or earnings, or can companies via?
I don't know.
I can answer that. Yeah. If you're asking if companies can invest for equity, no. Equity crowdfunding is not yet legal in the United States.
I don't mean equity crowdfunding.
No, but it's not approved yet, I don't think. But if you're a company and you want to put down the company card to buy one of these, absolutely you can. Anybody with a credit card can contribute, that has an email address and everything else, can contribute to a project.
Thank you. I'm going to jump around a little bit because a number of people mentioned patents tonight, and if you're unfamiliar with the patent process, or even if you have patents, one thing you should keep in mind: a patent is not what you probably think it is. It's only useful if you have the money to enforce it. You can't just write a letter to somebody who's stolen your idea and say stop. You have to hire a lawyer and bring that person to court, and it's very expensive. So although a patent will deter honest people, it will not deter the unscrupulous. And there are a lot of them who look at sites such as Kickstarter and see projects, and they may be more resourceful than you. They may be able to come out with your idea before you do. So keep that in mind. When you go for a patent, yes, go for it, but don't think it's going to give you the protection that you might think it is. It will require you to hire an attorney, and it can take years of litigation and thousands of dollars to enforce your patent. Also, when you're thinking of your goal, keep in mind the cost of fulfillment. Well, all right, I have 300 people, but if I had more, my first project, I did not include the cost of fulfillment. And that, I discovered afterwards, was a big oversight. It ate into the money I had raised, and this is something you should figure out how much it will cost to pack and ship your product. If you have thousands of backers, that will run into quite a penny. There are fulfillment houses that will do that for you. Amazon acts as a fulfillment house. And you can ship your inventory to Amazon along with the names and addresses of your backers. And for a fee, they will pack them and ship them at a fairly good price. But keep that in mind. If you discover that it will cost you $25 to make your product, don't forget it may cost you $10 to fulfill it. And it may cost you another $5 just to have a box made. So there are all these extra costs you should keep in mind when you set up when you're doing your planning and structuring what your budget is going to be. Keep your backers informed. The hardest thing is when something goes wrong to send an update to your backers telling them that something is going wrong, or your shipment date is slipping because the factory sent you defective goods, or the box manufacturer sent you defective goods. But again, they want you to succeed, so keep them informed even when there's bad news. They will understand. I'm afraid I have nothing else new to add.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Can you just talk about your products?
Oh, all right.
Hold
I'm
it
sorry.
up.
This is the Vector cup holder in its flat surface. It's made to prevent that. I think most of us have either had that or almost had that event, which can cost thousands of dollars for a new laptop. A lot of us like to work in Starbucks or a similar cafe where the tables are about this big, and you have no place to put your drink. This device will, with one hand, clip onto a table. With your other hand, you turn the ring, and you put your mug or your cup in it, and it's secure. And you also get additional real estate on your desk or table. It will also fit on airplanes and hold those little funny cups that you get on airplanes. It will hold 30-ounce cups from Starbucks, the mythical Trenti. And it's a fairly simple project, fairly low tech. It's extruded aluminum, so it's 100% recyclable. It weighs about 3 ounces, and it fills a need that I see every time I go into Starbucks and somebody spills something. My wife also had an accident where she suffered second-degree burns from knocking over a hot mug of coffee. So this little device, hopefully, I think it will satisfy people's need for protecting their $2,000 investment.
What are the issues if you don't deliver on your promise, you don't deliver goods at all? And if your product's defective, let's say you're a cup holder that's supposed to make people safer,
yes,
for some reason causes problems, and they burn themselves.
Yes.
So what are the issues?
The issues are you get insurance for your product, you test it thoroughly, you test it some more.
How about if you can't deliver at all, you can't deliver a product?
I'm not sure what Kickstarter's rules are on that. Since the money is for development, is usually the idea. Now, I had my money put aside already, and the money I raised is going to go towards marketing. But I think you don't have the money. You've spent it on development. You spent it on prototypes. I don't think you're obligated to return the money. However, you will get a lot of angry feedback. People don't understand. They think they're pre-buying something. Another issue is tier pricing for the rewards. let's say you are writing a play, and there's a lot of such creative people who want to make movies about Tibetan dance. There's the oddest things most unusual things you can see on Kickstarter. So you're writing a play, you might give a ticket for $30. 2 tickets, $50. 2 tickets opening night, $100. The after party, $250. $1,000 backing, and you will name one of the characters in the play after the backer. It's important to be able to structure something like that. For mine, it's a higher tier is a red vector cup holder. A higher tier is to have something engraved in it, such as your anniversary date, so you never forget it. So whatever your project is, there are people who may well spend a lot, want to give you more than, let's say, the $40 you think your product will retail for. Create those higher tiers, and you may be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, the $40, that's what the math roughly works out to per each, right?
Yep.
300 by $40. Is that roughly what?
No, there was, started at 10. Some people did that. Some people went for 20. 35 was the price for to receive a cup holder. Also, what you can do is for the first 100 people, you could make it, say, $35. For the next 100 people, $40. For the next 100 people, $45. So you can also create tiers like that.
How about a partner?
I'm sorry?
How about a partner?
A partner in what sense?
Can't do that. The regulations are not in place to provide, to sell ownership in your project.
Okay.
Kickstarter is a good place to be seen, though. A lot of big corporations look there to see if there's a product, if you have a better floor cleaner, a better mop. You may get a call from someone at one of the big home goods stores or big home goods manufacturers.
One more question for Cliff, and then our next speaker. Way in the back.
What if you have a component to a product, so you have a better push button that goes in the car? Are you going to send them the push button, or are you going to be in the whole car?
Good question. I don't have an answer for you.
That would be a 2-tier.
Sounds like it's not for crowdfunding, probably.
Any
All
other
right,
questions?
well, we'll have more questions at the end, and our speakers will be here. Thank you very much, Cliff. Our next speaker is Jennifer Shaw. Jennifer is the founder of New York Tech Women, which is a networking and social organization for women in technology in New York City. She's also the founder of Bella Minds, which was her crowdfunding project. And this is an educational program for rural women in technology. Jennifer is from Nebraska and has just come back from her first educational program. And in addition to telling about the project, I'd love to hear about your choice of where you raised your money. It was not Kickstarter, it was not Indiegogo. So.
Yeah, hi, thank you. First of all, I want to, thank all the ladies for coming tonight, because there's not very many of you. It is my mission to get you funded. It is literally my mission in life to get you funded. So if you're a lady and we want to talk about that, just know, 1, thanks for coming. 2, I'll do anything I can to get you funded. So yeah, a little bit different. I don't have a thing. You're pretty much looking at the thing. It's me and some IP running around up in here. That's about it. So yeah, we don't stand. Can we not actually have my rear up here? Can we switch it to anything else? There, but it's better at least. Yeah, so this whole thing started, I don't have a product, I don't have a patent, I don't have that, but what I had was an idea. So just out of curiosity, like a show in hands, like the non-patent people, like do I have like non-product? Yeah, so you got my guys, great. So anything, I'm kind of the Tibetan dance that Cliff was talking about that we do. So education, one of the things that happened is the last couple of years in New York, we realized that there's a significant problem with women in technology, the education, mentoring, just all of that they're getting. But I do have roots that are not in New York, and I wanted to take all of the resources like what you're getting tonight that happen in more urban areas. Maybe we're not urban here, but we definitely have more than most rural areas, and what does it take to take that tech education? The Java guy? There's a Java guy, yeah. What does it take to take like Java, rear end, like back end database structure, technologies, front end? What does it take to take those technologies to just literally the middle of nowhere? And that's my project with Bell Alliance. So we believed that with the power of technology, anybody could participate, and that's what I raised money on. So when we went to raise money, we struggled with all the things that Mike talked about, right? Who, where, when, how you don't sleep for an entire month before, how you don't sleep for the entire length of the campaign, how I haven't slept since. And all of those things are all very true. So regardless of whether you're doing a product or whether you are doing an idea, the struggles are very similar. I actually didn't employ anyone to help run this. We did it all on volunteer because this literally was the very launch of my company. There was a general concept of what it was, but we, with this budget, we raised $28,962 or something, yeah, 90 something, of $25,000, and we have done everything with that $30,000, basically launch an entire company. So somebody was asking about whether we had the upfront work done. I hadn't won business competitions. I didn't have a lot of those things. We actually used this to get those. So for us, it was sort of kill two birds with one stone. Like, how do I get the attention? How do I create this media storm? How do I do all of this for what we're talking about? Oh yeah, and also raise money. So I think we probably did it in a really hard way. My lesson to anybody interested in crowdfunding is, yeah, be prepared for how hard it is, but be prepared for how rewarding it is to have that like done. Like, yep, I raised that money, and your investors will look at you better. It just really is a huge check mark. So I just come from just a little bit of a different perspective on what it took. My campaign was about 52 days. Specifically, Mark wanted me to talk about the platform. So Plum Alley, for the ladies in the house, is dedicated to all women creators and founders. So in order to be funded on Plum Alley, you have to be part of a woman founding team. But that's their goal, is because we do have special needs, frankly. I did not have any crowd, like Kickstarter community or anything behind us. I was the first successfully funded campaign on this platform. So it was completely brand new. It was a retail site. They had done women-founded companies for the last year. They had created a retail space for that. And they decided that they wanted crowdfunding available, right? It was one thing to have women makers, Maker Fair, girl, you have stuff to talk about. So it was one thing to have kind of women makers, but the problem was getting them funded. So that's why we did this. And it was the first successfully funded campaign on the platform. My campaign was longer, 52 days, specifically not because I wanted it to be 52 days, but because they told me when I was starting and I knew what day I wanted to end. So some of those things were really strategically thought out, and others I had to just go with them, which is not something very many people have to work through. So I highly recommend, if your audience, if your product, if your things, there are very niche sites that can work really, really well for you. But things like Indiegogo, things like Kickstarter, they have these built-in communities. Right, so where Mike was saying, I don't know any of these people that backed me of 20-some thousand. I can tell you almost on a first name basis, all 273 of my backers, how much they gave, who they were, where they live, and I probably could dial their phone number from memory on a lot of them, right? Like they are very first, second, possibly third degree connections. Many of them actually gave once, they gave again. And when we're talking about the perks, it's a completely different concept. How do I give me, right? When I stood up here and said, like, you're pretty much looking at what was funded. It's me. It's the ideas that I have and the methodologies of teaching and what we're teaching and the concepts and how to do that. What was I going to give away? And I basically gave away, like, social conscious that said, you are in a space to help other people, and I need you to do that right now. And that's a completely different sort of draw to the purse strings than actually getting something back. And I can tell you it's really hard. People talk and talk and talk about doing the right thing and giving, but it can either be really, really easy or really, really hard. So we actually played, and I know almost everyone that backed, and now intimately I do. So keeping in track, I claim it's my job to make friends. Like that's my job. That's what I get paid for with New York Tech Women. It's now what I get paid for with Fellow Minds. So the keeping in touch with my backers and the updates and the conversations has probably been the easiest thing for me, but that is the easiest thing for me. That's what I do as a living. So my perks all, if you kind of go back through it, and I actually just did a redesign, but it's time with me. It's brunch. It's brunch. It's you got to name a scholarship fund. You actually were part of our investor circle, so while I can't give you equity, I can name you to our board. So it's a slight fraction of playing the line. So you get some of those things. You were listed in our newsletter. You were announced. You got special time and introductions with me. There was, I don't remember what all there was, special events that you got to do. Going to a Yankees game on Tuesday with me and 20 of our special investors. That's this 110. I just called the Yankees and said, what can you do for me? And they're like, yeah, sure, we'll give you discount tickets. So we were able to kind of do that. So the fulfillment has been me being in 273 places at once, right? Because that's what the backers want. We promised them a lot of time and a lot of energy, and that's actually been really difficult when we talk about fulfillment. I wish that it cost me $10 a backer to fulfill, but it's all in my time, right? So when you're talking about what you have in terms of crowdfunding, that was definitely something that was different. And so if you look at my average, I'm actually over about over $105 per backer. And that was one of the things that I really, really strived for. Mike and I were talking about this. It's about $40 on average per backer. And I strived to make sure that I had over $100 per backer. I actually had several investor circles. You'll notice I am quite proud of that sold out investor circle at $1,500. And that really is people who just so strongly and wholeheartedly believed in this that they did literally more than that to get us started. And that one's pretty impressive. And you just ask. A few more questions.
That's great. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
I guess when I came here, I was expecting this to be a micro venture capital forum. And I guess what I'm hearing now is it's not venture capital and it's not loans, it's really a donation.
Yeah.
Because they're not, the backers are not getting a financial return on their investment.
That's correct.
Okay.
So we were actually really careful. We played with this in our copywriting a lot. What do we call that? Like, do we call, like, please invest in us? Well, it's not an investment. Like, please donate to us. Well, I didn't want them to see that it was a donation, right? Because then now they wanted, because one of the things I struggle with is being like for-profit. So my company, Bella Minds, is a for-profit educational institution, right? But so when you say donation, now all of a sudden they think that you're like a 501c3 and they want your like tax write-off number. So playing with that language is actually a really fine line.
Well, you mentioned investor in your thing,
Yep.
which to me, an investor is someone who is looking for a return.
And they got a return by being on the board. So while I can't give them legal equity, they are.
I got a great brunch out of it.
Yeah, Mark got a really good bunch, and like that was well invested time. Mike has some stuff.
Yeah, just a quick explanation.
I'll just sit down.
So once again, one of the things that you are getting in some projects is some sort of a reward. So in our projects, it was future delivery of a product. Now, you actually do see this in real life when you see an infomercial, because a lot of infomercials are just basically the not forthright version of a Kickstarter project. A lot of times what companies will do is test a product in a test market, and then if it does well, they will run an infomercial that says, buy this now, and you buy, act right now and you'll get 2 of them for this price, just pay separate processing, please allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery, which usually means we haven't even begun production of this widget. And we're going to produce it and we're going to get it to you once we get your money, but we want to pre-sell a large number of these because since we are selling widgets, we want to realize economies of scale. And that's kind of the Kickstarter, the real world version of Kickstarter. But no, you don't get equity, but you do get something. And as to what value you see that something that you get, whether it's tickets to the band that's forming, whether it's tickets to their first concert, whether it's a cup holder, whether it's an extension cord, whether it's a video game console.
Were there any more specific questions for me?
Well, for anybody, since the people here not necessarily looked at all of the various sites, they all have different flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Kickstarter seems very heavy in performing arts and electronic gadgetry and accessories. But other one, could any of you comment on what the various sites do or what they specialize in?
I mean, I'll talk about Plum Alley. I mean, that's an obvious example. So we launched October 17th is the first day that the funding went live. Has a very specific niche towards doing everything we can for women. I didn't consider any other because I was helping them start their venture. So I actually didn't consider Kickstarter and Indiegogo were just not even options on my table. This was it for me. I would have probably not actually done a crowdfunding campaign if it wasn't for them. So the fees for Plum Alley were probably a little different for me. There are actually 2 types of fees we should talk about, at least for me, and I'm curious what the other guys have. There's the fee for the actual campaign for Kickstarter or for Plum Alley. And then for me, I actually had fees for the holding company. So I don't know if you guys have that, but so it equaled over 5%, at least.
Cliff, you want to talk about fees for Kickstarter?
I confess I don't remember the precise percentage.
I know.
So the fees for Kickstarter are basically, they turn out to be approximately 10%. So if you raise $100,000, plan on $10,000 going to Kickstarter and Amazon. Kickstarter takes a flat fee of 5% off the top, and then Amazon takes a variety of different percentages. It depends on the dollar figure. They take it's 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction, which if you have any transaction under $40, it usually ends up being approximately 5%. So if you average it out to expect to take about 10%, you have to also factor that in to your project.
No matter what you have, there are extensive fees.
Yeah. No matter what platform you choose, there are extensive fees. So the budget for me was actually really, really hard for me to come up with. And again, I actually probably would say the opposite of Cliff, which is sort of hitting low, only just because as a woman we tend to think low anyway. And the money that you raise, you have to raise money for fees, you have to raise money for the fulfillment. All of those things really start to add up. And I upped mine almost $15,000. I originally was only going to do a $10,000 campaign, and I just, once I started to do the budget of it, quickly realized there's no way that's enough money.
I'd just like to add that if your Kickstarter campaign is 30 days or 60 days, before you turn it on, before you turn your Kickstarter campaign on, you should have your website or other way of taking orders already set up. Because people are, on the 31st day, they're going to say, gee, I just found out about your project. I'd really like one of those. And they don't know where to go, and you can't tell them how to get one. So if you're going to do electronic commerce, and you're going to do it from a website, have that set up, ready to turn on the day that the Kickstarter campaign turns off. If you're going to do it with Amazon, make sure that you've set up that Amazon account. It does take some time. And Amazon will also handle the charge cards and the accounting for you, for your electronic commerce site, your website. But they take a nice penny from that, and they pay you every 2 weeks. So keep all this in mind, but my biggest advice is to make sure you have a way of taking orders on the day that the Kickstarter campaign turns off.
I really want to answer your question, but I also want to say this. One of the things I'm really running into is if anybody's interested in raising money individually and not as a company, make sure you consult your tax advisor first. Because if you have 85 grand coming to your bank account, that's interesting. So even for me, to have, as an individual, I had to be prepared for what $30,000 in my bank account looked like, because there's no taxes on that, taken out like a paycheck. That's a whole other conversation. I don't know what you guys did, but that was really, really important for me, that I learned after the fact. Somebody have a question?
I had a question. When you determine the amount of money that you're raising, are you explaining in your Kickstarter or Plum Alley or whatever site what you expect to be using that money for, and do people that are your backers know and understand what you're using the money for, so that they have the right expectation? It's probably more than just, I want to make 50,000 cup holders. It's got to be, I want to use money to make 50,000 cup holders and promote it or market it or...
So most of them want, like, there's a section even in Plum Alley, like, what's your budget and what are you going to use it for? And the last thing your backers want is, like, to see, and half of this will go towards salary, right? Because that's not, they don't want to fund your life, they want to fund a project. And it was really good PR. For me, I got lucky that it was, I'm raising $25,000 for scholarships for 25 women, right? And so that was a really quick like tagline for what I was raising it for, who I was raising it, kind of, et cetera. But then, yeah, for their kind of in the details, it's, you know, it breaks down. And we actually didn't put it on our crowdfunding because we had a lot of leeway for what that looked like. But then for our website, we were able to say, you know, 30% is operations, and, you know, marketing is this, and this is what the class is actually worth, and this is actually what travel, et cetera, looks like. But we were pretty free to do whatever.
Yep. Let's have our fourth panelist, Doug Lyon, who raised money over a year ago, right? Oh, pardon me. Raised money over a year ago for the Arduino Digital Signal Processing Shield, which is a little thingy. You can see one right there, and you can, I guess, program it and whatnot. And
size doesn't matter.
And size doesn't matter. It makes cool music. And when he's not showing us how to do things on a really slim budget, he's a professor here at the university. So
I wanted to say that I've rethought this talk a few times, and I'd like to say that there are two ways in which you can approach crowdfunding. The first is strategic, and the second is tactical. With strategic, you think in the large, about the big picture. What's the product? Who's going to buy it? How much can I charge? Tactically, you want to think about things that you can do which will maximize your sales. There are some people here who actually have business plans because they went to business school and in business school, they give you grade rewards for having created business plans. I called up the dean of the school of this business school, and I said, oh, here's my Kickstarter project, and I think I was the first faculty member here to actually have some crowdfunding. He says, what's your business plan? And my plan is to grow the business. That's it. You don't have a business plan? No, I don't. I have profit.